James Harden is going to the Hall of Fame. James Harden is a former MVP and still only 33, younger than Steph Curry. He's a 10-time All-Star and a 3-time scoring champion, but since January 2021, he's left Houston for Brooklyn and Brooklyn for Philadelphia. Now he's eager to leave Philadelphia. What's going on with Harden and the 76ers? It's messy and personal and might only get messier. Here's John Barr.
This was James Harden last February, embraced by 76ers team president Daryl Morey upon his arrival in Philadelphia.
I'm excited, I'm healthy, and it's an opportunity of a lifetime.
This was Harden at a recent media event in China.
Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
So how did we go from hugs to hurling insults from halfway around the world?
Daryl Morey promised him that he would make up to him what he took away last year, and he essentially reneged on that wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge deal, and James Harden is calling him out for that.
Philadelphia Inquirer columnist Marcus Hayes says Harden vastly overrated his value on the free agent market, and that Morey's decision to not offer Harden a long-term max contract ultimately blew up in his face.
If you take $200 million away from a guy, there's not going to be a lot of hugs after that.
When Morey left the Houston Rockets in November 2020, he took out a full-page ad in which he credited Harden for transforming his life. And Harden had the best seasons of his career on the Morey-led Rockets, winning an MVP award in 2018. Since then, it's been a bumpy ride for both men. Harden, who forced his way out of Houston and then did the same thing in Brooklyn after the failed experiment on the Nets with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, is now trying to force his way off his third team in 3 years. In his 3 seasons as Sixers president of basketball operations, Morey has failed to construct a team to go beyond the second round of the playoffs. Now he's trying to engineer the exit of the player with whom he's been so closely linked for much of his career.
I do have a long relationship with him. I'm attempting to honor that. If we do look at a trade, it's going to be for one of two things. It's either going to be for a player who continues to help us be right there like we were last year, or we're going to do it for something where we get enough draft picks such that we can then turn those into a player who can be a running mate with Joel.
Do I expect them to have some sort of resolution and compromise and work together again? No, because James seems like he's done with Philly. But neither of them are hard, bitter people. So it wouldn't astonish me to see some sort of reconciliation.
And for more, we're joined now by Mike Sielski, the distinguished columnist for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Mike, what has been the internal reaction from what you can tell from the 76ers to what James Harden said in China?
I don't think there's a lot of surprise internally, Jeremy, from what I understand. Once Daryl Morey got in contact with the Clippers on Saturday and told them that it was unlikely, if not impossible, that they were going to reach a trade agreement at this point. And they told Harden's agent and told in turn Harden, they were anticipating that James would not be happy. Whether they anticipated that Harden would say exactly what he said in China, that's probably a different matter.
So, Mike, what do we think Harden means? He goes way back with Morey, obviously. What do we think he is alleging when he says he's a liar, specifically alleging?
Well, I think if we had to guess, it would be that he's suggesting that there may have been some kind of handshake agreement that once Harden took less money to play last season, that the Sixers would commit to him to play this season and pay him what James Harden thought he was worth. And what we don't know is what changed those circumstances. Now, we can judge from the outside to say, James Harden did not play well in games 6 or 7 of that Celtics second round series. And because he didn't play well, the team lost. And there were episodes throughout the regular season where Harden hinted that he'd rather be playing somewhere else this season. Go back to Christmas, where the story broke that Harden was exploring or had a desire to play with the Houston Rockets. So something changed. And in turn, James Harden is not happy with Daryl Morey. And I think that's a safe assumption that there was some kind of unspoken agreement and Harden feels like it was broken.
So, Mike, if James Harden is so upset that Daryl Morey and the 76ers wouldn't offer him a max deal, and he insists he won't be part of the same organization as Morey, why didn't he choose free agency? Why did he opt in for this $35 million for 1-year deal?
That's the, I guess you'd say, $47 million question, Jeremy. I think he misread his place in the market. I think James Harden has a very inflated idea of what he's worth to other teams around the NBA compared to what those teams actually view him. I wrote this last offseason. James Harden was in the absolute best possible situation he could be in at this stage of his career. Daryl Morey was the executive who thought more of James Harden at this stage of his career than any other executive did. So if Harden didn't make it work in Philadelphia, where else was he going to go? And I think Harden is still trying to dictate terms. I think he thought that by signing the opt-in and forcing the Sixers' hand that he would get what he wanted, which was a deal to the Clippers. And once the Sixers tried and couldn't find a deal that was appealing to them and said, okay.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.